You know what the enduring gift has actually been? It's the people.
For more than 60 years, Ron Howard has carried one of the cleanest reputations in Hollywood. The industry even gave him a nickname, the nicest guy in show business. Yet that reputation hides shocking stories most people never hear. Over the years, Howard has clashed with powerful figures in the industry, faced humiliating moments early in his directing career, and admitted to feeling anger and resentment towards some Hollywood celebs. This is the side of Ron Howard they tried to hide from you. Ron Howard's reputation in Hollywood. Ron Howard is one of the most respected figures in the entertainment industry. His reputation has remained intact for more than 60 years, which in Hollywood is nearly impossible. But there is another side to that reputation that most people don't talk about. Because the same man known for being the nicest guy in show business has also made decisions that angered people. He's defended things that hurt others and admitted to feeling real resentment about how his work has been treated. Ron Howard's career started before he could even read. In the late 1950s, his father, Rance Howard, made a deliberate choice that would shape everything. Rance was an actor who understood how Hollywood worked. He looked at the child stars of the era and saw what made them successful. There were wise guys, kids who played tricks and talked back, characters like Dennis the Menace. Those roles got laughs. But Rance wanted a different path. He decided Ron would play good kids, not just any good kids, but the kind of boys audiences trusted instinctively. That decision stuck, and from 1960 to 1968, Ron Howard played Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show. America watched him grow up, fish with Andy, struggle with school, and navigate childhood with a sweetness that never felt forced. After The Andy Griffith Show ended, Howard moved through the normal challenges of being a former child star. He had a few guest appearances and small roles, but nothing major. Then came Happy Days. From 1974 to 1980, he played Richie Cunningham, another good kid. Richie was the wholesome center of a show about the 1950s. Once again, America welcomed Ron Howard into their homes, but Howard had other ambitions. While acting in Happy Days, he was already thinking about directing. He made his directorial debut in 1977 with a low-budget comedy called Grand Theft Auto, which he also co-wrote. The film was modest, and it showed that Howard was not content to stay in front of the camera. That transition from actor to director is one of the hardest in Hollywood. Many have tried, but few have succeeded. And Howard did more than succeed. He became one of the most successful directors in film history. His awards include 2 Academy Awards, 7 Emmy Awards, 2 Golden Globes, 2 Grammy Awards, the National Medal of Arts in 2003, induction into the Television Hall of Fame in 2013, and 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, 1 for acting and 1 for directing. In 1985, he co-founded Imagine Entertainment with Brian Grazer. Together, they produced some of the most acclaimed films and television shows of the last 4 decades. And through it all, Howard maintained a stable family life. He married Cheryl Alley in 1975, as together they have 4 children, including actress Bryce Dallas Howard. When people in Hollywood talk about him, they use words like genuine, gracious, and collaborative. They describe him as one of the most decent people in show business. This is not a public relations invention. It is a consensus shared by virtually everyone who has worked with him. But even Ron Howard has moments that do not fit his perfect reputation. In 2002, he won the Oscar for Best Director for A Beautiful Mind. It should have been a moment of pure triumph. Instead, it became a source of frustration. In the years that followed, debates emerged about whether the Academy had overlooked other films that year. Critics and commentators began to suggest that A Beautiful Mind was not really the best picture, that it had won for reasons other than its quality. Howard heard these arguments, and they made him angry. Not just mildly annoyed, but really angry. He felt his work was being unfairly diminished and that the achievement was being taken away from him. For a man known for his calm demeanor, this anger was shocking. In 2011, Howard faced the biggest controversy of his career. The trailer for his film The Dilemma featured Vince Vaughn's character saying, "Electric cars are gay. I mean, not homosexual gay, but my parents are chaperoning the dance gay." The line landed badly and led to immediate backlash from the public. GLAAD, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation, got involved in the situation. Universal Studios had actually reached out to the organization before the trailer even launched, which many people interpreted as an admission that the studio knew the dialogue might cause serious offense. Ron Howard defended the joke anyway. He told the Los Angeles Times that he believes in sensitivity, but he does not believe in censorship. He argued that the line was meant to show a flaw in the character Vaughn was playing, not to express the film's own point of view. He refused to cut the joke from the final film, but Universal pulled the line from future trailers and advertisements, calling that decision appropriate. The joke stayed in the movie, but it cost Ron Howard the nice guy reputation that he had spent 60 years building. Ron Howard has also talked about experiencing toxic environments in Hollywood despite all of his success. He has felt belittled and underestimated. He has encountered people who dismissed him, who assumed that because he started as a child actor, he could not be a serious director, who treated him with condescension instead of respect. Those experiences left marks on him, and they shaped how he sees the industry and the people in it. The public image of Hollywood's nicest guy is just one part of the story. Behind decades of success, praise, and collaboration, there have been moments of frustration that didn't reach the spotlight. One of the earliest happened when a powerful Hollywood producer turned a simple movie pitch into an intense battle that Howard never forgot. The director, Ron Howard, fought. One of the most intense battles of Howard's early directing career involved Ray Stark, a powerful Hollywood producer who tried to stop one of his films before it even began. Stark was one of the most influential producers in Hollywood during the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. His films included major hits such as Funny Girl, The Way We Were, Steel Magnolias, and Annie. Because of those successes, Stark had enormous power inside the industry. When he started developing a project, studios usually listened. In the early 1980s, Stark began working on a romantic fantasy film about a mermaid. The project was called Mermaid, and it was planned as a large production at Columbia Pictures with major talent attached. Director Herbert Ross was involved. The screenplay was being written by Robert Towne, the Academy Award-winning writer of Chinatown. Actress Jessica Lange was expected to play the mermaid, and actor Warren Beatty was connected to the male lead role. The planned budget was around $30 million, a very large amount for the time. Around the same period, a young producer named Brian Grazer had a different idea for a mermaid movie. His concept was lighter, modern, and set in contemporary New York. Grazer believed the story could become a successful romantic comedy, and he called the project Splash. Grazer spent years trying to sell the idea. Studio after studio rejected the pitch. Many executives were not interested in another mermaid film, especially when a much bigger project with famous actors was already being developed. Competing with Ray Stark's film seemed too risky. So, for several years, the idea simply moved from one rejection to another. However, Grazer continued working on the script and eventually brought the project to Ron Howard, who was beginning his directing career. Howard had recently directed the comedy Night Shift and was looking for his next film. He liked Grazer's idea and agreed to direct the project if it ever found a studio willing to support it. For a short time, it seemed like the film might finally move forward. Grazer arranged a deal with United Artists, but that plan collapsed when the studio entered a major crisis. The failure of the expensive film Heaven's Gate caused severe financial damage to the company. The situation became so serious that United Artists essentially fell apart as an independent studio, and Grazer's deal disappeared with it. Another opportunity appeared soon after when the Ladd Company showed interest in the script. The company had already worked with Howard on Night Shift, and for a moment the project seemed close to becoming real. But the same problem returned again. When executives learned more about Ray Stark's competing mermaid film, they became nervous. They did not want to release a smaller movie that might be overshadowed by a huge production with famous stars. To avoid the risk, the Ladd Company backed away from the project. The pattern became frustrating. Every time Grazer and Howard thought the film might move forward, the existence of Stark's project created fear inside the studios. The competition alone was enough to scare investors away. Eventually, Grazer and Howard brought the idea to Walt Disney Productions. At the time, Disney was mainly known for family films and animation. A romantic comedy about a mermaid living in New York did not immediately fit the company's usual image. Even so, Disney executives were curious enough to listen to the pitch. When Ray Stark heard that Disney was considering producing the competing film, the situation became very tense. According to Howard, Stark reacted strongly and contacted Brian Grazer directly, and the conversation quickly turned hostile. Howard later explained that Stark told Grazer that he would destroy his career if the project continued. The message was clear. Stark wanted the smaller movie to disappear. In a bid to resolve the issue, Stark offered Grazer a deal connected to his own film. If Grazer would abandon Splash, he could receive a co-producer credit on Stark's project, which was now being referred to as Mermaids. However, Grazer refused the offer. He believed in his own film and did not want to walk away from it. Meanwhile, Disney executives had their own concerns. During early discussions, they asked Howard and Grazer about the competing project. If a large studio production with major stars was already in development, Disney needed to know whether the smaller film could survive the competition. Howard and Grazer responded with a very simple argument. Their version of the story would be faster to produce, far less expensive, and more focused on humor and romance. Instead of a $30 million epic, they promised a lean production that could be made for about $8 million. The lower cost reduced the risk for the studio. That argument helped persuade Disney to move forward. The company approved the project and allowed Howard to begin production. But there was another concern. The film contained romantic scenes and humor that did not match Disney's traditional family image. Executives worried that releasing it under the main Disney brand might confuse audiences. The solution was unusual. Disney created an entirely new label called Touchstone Pictures. The label allowed the company to release films aimed at older audiences without affecting the family-friendly reputation of the Disney name. Splash became the first movie released under that new banner. When the film finally arrived in theaters in 1984, it quickly proved that Howard and Grazer's instincts were correct. Splash became a major hit with audiences. It earned nearly $70 million in the United States alone, an enormous return on its modest budget. The success made it Disney's first big live-action hit since the release of The Love Bug in 1969. Ironically, Ray Stark's competing project never reached theaters at all. Despite its large budget and famous talent, the production was eventually canceled. Industry uncertainty and the possibility of an actor's strike created enough risk that the film quietly disappeared during development. The outcome changed the careers of Howard and Grazer. After the success of Splash, the two partners used their new influence to launch a production company together. In 1985, they founded Imagine Entertainment, a company that would later produce dozens of successful films and television series. Even decades later, Howard has said he never forgot the pressure that surrounded that early project. The experience showed him how competitive and ruthless Hollywood could be when major money and power were involved. But the conflict with Ray Stark was not the only uncomfortable moment Howard experienced in the early years of his career. Ray faced another controversial incident involving a well-known actress. The encounter became one of the most awkward public moments Howard ever faced, and it nearly humiliated him in front of an entire room of Hollywood insiders. The actress who humiliated Ron Howard. Before Ron Howard became one of Hollywood's most respected directors, he faced a moment early in his career that tested his confidence in a very public way. It happened on the set of a small television movie in 1980. At the time, Howard was only 25 years old and still widely known to audiences as Richie Cunningham from Happy Days. Directing was still new territory for him, and many people in the industry were watching closely to see whether the former sitcom star could truly succeed behind the camera. The project was a made-for-television drama titled Skyward, which aired on NBC on November 20th, 1980. Its story followed a young girl who used a wheelchair and dreamed of learning how to fly airplanes. The project also had strong connections to Howard's television past. The idea for the story came from his Happy Days co-star, Anson Williams, who played Potsy on the show. Williams served as executive producer for the television film. Another familiar face from Happy Days, Marion Ross, also appeared in the cast. For Howard, the project felt almost like a reunion with people he had already worked with for years. But the production also included someone very different from the rest of the cast. One of the film's major roles went to legendary actress Bette Davis. At the time, Davis was already one of the most famous performers in the history of Hollywood. She had won 2 Academy Awards and built a reputation during the golden age of cinema for intense performances and a strong personality. She was also known for speaking her mind and challenging directors when she disagreed with them. The difference in experience between the two was enormous. Davis was 72 years old and had spent decades working with some of the most powerful filmmakers in the industry. Howard, on the other hand, was only 25 and directing what was essentially his 3rd major project. The situation placed a young director with limited experience in charge of a performer who had already become a Hollywood legend. The tension began before filming even started. Howard made a decision about the casting that Davis did not agree with. The lead role of the disabled girl went to a 14-year-old named Susie Gilstrap, who had paraplegia and used a wheelchair in real life. She had little acting experience, but Howard believed that her real-life experience would bring honesty and authenticity to the role. But Davis had suggested other actresses for the part, so when Howard chose Gilstrap instead, she strongly disagreed with the decision. Howard later explained that he believed the role needed someone who truly understood the physical reality of the character. He felt that casting a young actress who actually lived with paralysis would give the story a level of realism that could not be easily imitated. Before the two had ever met in person, Howard called Davis to explain the choice. During the call, he tried to reassure her that the young actress would receive support on set, including coaching to help guide her performance. He also made it clear that he would work carefully to make sure every scene functioned smoothly. The conversation did not go well. Davis made it clear that she did not agree with the decision. When Howard suggested that she call him Ron instead of Mr. Howard, she refused. She said she would continue using the formal title until she decided whether she liked him. The call ended abruptly. For the young director, the exchange was unsettling. Howard later admitted that the conversation left him shaken. He worried about how the working relationship would unfold once filming began. The thought of directing a legendary actress who already doubted his decisions created a great deal of pressure. Looking for guidance, Howard turned to his father, actor Rance Howard. Rance had spent many years working in television and film and understood the dynamics between actors and directors. His advice to his son was simple. He told him that experienced actors often challenge directors because they care about the work. The best response, he said, was to remain calm and do the job confidently. Howard also decided to study Davis more closely. He looked into her career and learned that one of her favorite directors had been William Wyler. Wyler had directed her in the film Jezebel, a performance that earned Davis one of her Academy Awards. Howard discovered that Wyler had a habit of arriving on set every day wearing a suit and tie. So, when production began for their film, Howard decided to follow the example he had read about. On the first day of filming, he arrived wearing a sport coat and tie. The choice was partly symbolic. He also wanted to present himself as a serious director, not just a young actor trying something new. He also learned small gestures meant to make Davis feel respected. Producer Anson Williams arranged for a limousine to pick her up at the airport when she arrived. According to people involved with the production, Davis later remarked that it had been many years since a studio had sent a car to greet her that way. Despite those efforts, the first meeting on set quickly became awkward. Davis was seated in a mock airplane cockpit during one of the early scenes when Howard approached quietly to suggest a small adjustment to the way the scene was being played. Before he could finish speaking, Davis turned toward him and loudly commented on how young he looked. Her remark was delivered in a way that drew attention from the entire crew. The moment quickly turned into a joke at Howard's expense. People nearby laughed, including Howard himself, who tried to take the situation in stride. The moment was embarrassing, but the director continued working. After the brief exchange, he returned to his monitor and continued guiding the scene. The production moved forward, though the tension between the two remained noticeable. Later that same day, Howard saw another opportunity to adjust a scene involving Davis. She appeared to be having trouble with the timing of a particular movement in the shot. Even though the earlier moment had been uncomfortable, he approached her again to suggest a change. At first, she resisted the note, but Howard calmly asked her to try the adjustment once so he could see how it looked on camera. Davis agreed to test the idea, and when they ran the scene again, the new timing worked better and improved the flow of the moment. Davis immediately recognized it. She announced to the crew that the adjustment improved the scene and that they should move forward with the shot. For Howard, that moment showed him that even a legendary performer could respect a director's decision when it clearly improved the work. At the end of the first day, Howard thanked Davis for her performance and told her that her scenes were finished for the day. As she prepared to leave, something small but meaningful happened. Instead of using the formal title she had insisted on earlier, Davis addressed him by his first name. The shift signaled that the tension had begun to ease. The rest of the production lasted about 10 days. There were occasional disagreements, but the relationship between director and actress became more comfortable as the shoot continued. Yet the damage had already been done, and Ron Howard never forgot how David made him feel. But the tension on that set was not the only difficult relationship Howard experienced during those years. Another conflict involved someone he had worked beside for years on Happy Days, and it quietly created distance between Howard and this Hollywood star. The tension between Ron Howard and Henry Winkler. The friendship between Ron Howard and Henry Winkler began long before either man knew how famous their television show would become. They first met in 1974 when they were cast on the new sitcom Happy Days. Howard was only 19 years old at the time, but already had years of experience in television from his childhood acting career. Winkler, who was 27, was still relatively unknown and trying to establish himself in Hollywood. From the beginning, the two actors connected easily. They spent long hours working together on set, and the partnership between their characters quickly became one of the most important parts of the show. Howard played Richie Cunningham, the polite and thoughtful teenager whose family anchored the series. Winkler played Arthur Fonzie Fonzarelli, a confident biker with a leather jacket and a quiet sense of loyalty. On screen, the two actors developed a natural rhythm together. They understood how the other person delivered lines and reacted to scenes. This made their conversations on the show feel natural and helped create many of the moments that audiences remembered most. As the series became popular, however, something unexpected happened. The character of Fonzie began to attract enormous attention from viewers. What started as a supporting role quickly grew into a cultural phenomenon. Fans copied Fonzie's hairstyle and leather jacket. Children repeated his catchphrases. Within a short time, the character had become one of the most recognizable figures on television. The sudden shift changed the balance of attention around the show. Richie Cunningham had originally been designed as the central character, but Fonzie's popularity grew so rapidly that he often became the focus of publicity and marketing. The success created a complicated situation for the cast. One small moment illustrated how noticeable the difference had become. During the show's early success, the network gave the cast holiday gifts. Most of the actors received simple wallets. Winkler, however, received a video recorder, an extremely expensive and difficult item to obtain at the time. The gift reportedly cost around $1,500. Other members of the cast felt the difference was unfair. Actor Tom Bosley, who played Richie's father on the series, encouraged Howard to speak to the network about it. Bosley believed Howard was still the official star of the show and should address the situation directly. Howard contacted television executive Bob Boyette and returned the wallet the network had given him. He was the only cast member who did so. The incident reflected the awkward position Howard found himself in. The show had been built around his character, yet the public's attention had shifted strongly toward Winkler's role. Decades later, Howard acknowledged that the situation affected him emotionally. During a podcast conversation with their families many years later, he admitted that the intense popularity of Fonzie had hurt his feelings at the time. The growing fame of Fonzie led to another serious discussion inside the network. Executives considered changing the title of the show to emphasize the character's popularity. One suggestion was to rename the series Fonzie's Happy Days. Howard found the idea very weird. He believed the series worked because it felt like a story about a family and a group of friends, not a single hero. Howard told the executives that if the title changed in that way, he might leave the show. He later explained that the statement was not a negotiating tactic. If the program had been redesigned entirely around Fonzie, he was prepared to return to film school and pursue directing instead. At the same time, Winkler was quietly expressing a similar opinion. He told network representatives that renaming the series would be unfair to the rest of the cast. He believed the success of his character depended on the larger group of actors around him. Without that ensemble, he felt the show would lose what made it work. Producer Gary Marshall played an important role in resolving the situation. Marshall listened to the concerns and ultimately decided not to change the title. The series remained Happy Days, and the cast continued working together as an ensemble. Even with that decision, Howard noticed a shift in how some television executives treated him. As Fonzie's popularity continued to grow, certain business discussions began to focus more heavily on Winkler's character. Howard later explained that some network and studio leaders started treating him with less respect during negotiations and meetings. By 1980, Howard had made an important personal decision. His interest in directing had grown stronger each year, and he felt ready to focus on filmmaking full-time. One day, he used a payphone near the soundstage to call Winkler and share the news before anyone else heard it. He told him that he would not be returning to the show. Winkler's first reaction was emotional. For a brief moment, he worried that the departure might damage the series, but almost immediately he shifted to encouragement. He reminded Howard that directing had always been his goal and told him to pursue it fully. He said he was excited to see what Howard would accomplish next. The friendship continued after Howard left the series, but their careers moved in different directions after that point. Despite the different paths their careers followed, the friendship between them continued. Their families became close over the years. Winkler eventually became the godfather to Howard's daughter, actress Bryce Dallas Howard. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this video, please click on the next one on your screen.